I want to tell you why old people aren't bankrupting young people, aren't stealing from the government and bankrupting our future by draining all our resources. It's really rich special interests. And I'll start with a little bit of a local TV commercial I used to see when I was in college in Baltimore, Maryland. It was for a trial lawyer who wanted clients who felt that they had been wronged by various companies. And it went like this. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Insurance companies, I'm taking you to court. It was for a cheesy local commercial for a trial lawyer in Baltimore that are known to sort of, well, granted they play an important role in the economy. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But the idea is essentially this. When someone's doing something wrong to you and they tell you it's the source of a natural event, you should be a little bit suspicious. And that's exactly what's going on when the same elites that help validate policies that redistribute wealth upward into the country and make sure that the top 1% own more than 42% of the country's non-household wealth and see most of the income gains in the economy, tell you that the people that are really bankrupting the economy are old people. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Don't bankrupt the country and tell me it's old people. What do I mean exactly? Well, every couple of weeks, it seems like there's a new drumbeat to sell us on the idea that Social Security and Medicare need to be destroyed or cut, or else children will starve, or else we won't be able to give any money for food stamps and education and all the important programs that help kids directly today. Well, this week, it was once again the idea that if the president listens to the people that are saying that the chain consumer price index in his budget is bad, he'll lose the youth vote. Charlie Cook wrote an article in National Journal saying this, that the president, essentially, he's a pollster. Democrats risk alienating young voters by imposing cuts in entitlement spending. He didn't cite a single statistical polling figure to back himself up. Ezra Klein also focused on this idea. A number of people have been using this idea, and they base it on studies that show a study by the Urban Institute called Kids Share that shows that the federal government spends apparently $7 for every $1 it spends on young people, it spends on seniors. Again, 7-to-1 seniors to young people. Well, it turns out this is deeply, deeply misleading. And not just because all the money is going to rich people. Well, instead of old people. That $7 doesn't account for the fact that most of our spending on young people comes through state and local governments, through things like education and local insurance and welfare programs and Medicaid. And in fact, when you account for state and local spending, that ratio is more like 2-to-1. When you account for tax expenditures that benefit children disproportionately, like the tax expenditure for dependency that parents get from the tax code, or like the tax exemption that people get on their employer-provided health insurance, which goes to their children, that ratio gets even smaller. So we're not even really talking about that big of a difference. Of course, more to the point, the government spends far, far more on giveaways and protections for the wealthy, not just through our tax code, though there is that, and there are tax expenditures for private money management to the tune of something like $200 billion a year. Those are the tax expenditures on 401ks that subsidize Wall Street managed private retirement accounts. But policies like the fact that we don't let Medicare negotiate for drugs, for the drugs that it buys, which is something like a $600 billion giveaway to pharmaceutical companies every decade, or the fact that we provide government insured patent monopolies to those same pharmaceutical companies that cost the government something like $2 trillion every decade, or that just in general, Medicare, while it is better at controlling costs, still has it rises relatively in accordance with our overall healthcare costs, which are twice as much per capita as the nearest developed country. And so if we're going to talk about who's bankrupting the country, it's really actually rich special interests, the pharmaceutical companies, Wall Street, which we insure through our implicit guarantee of a bailout. Bloomberg estimated that at $82 billion a year. And so these are all things that we need to remind ourselves of when the elites come back with this chorus that old people are bankrupting young people. First, it's not true. But second, it's because they want to divert your attention away from another source. But I'd also like to add another thing, which is that Social Security and Medicare are children's programs as well, not just because Social Security provides benefits directly to children, 3.4 million children a year, but also because if your parents and grandparents are getting that Social Security benefits, it means that you don't have to and that you can indirectly benefit from it. There are some 3 million children living in households with Social Security beneficiaries and them who depend on some of that income. And it also means that when those folks get old, they're not moving in with you. And finally, in this millennial generation where jobs are so uncertain and we're starting out at a wage and employment disadvantage to begin with, and the rates of defined benefit pensions have gone from 40% in the private sector to 15% and even declining from there. These programs are more important than ever for today's young people. This is a red herring to distract young people from the fact that we will depend on Social Security and Medicare one day and to divide and conquer us. And it's wrong. And instead of that, we should be focusing on how rich people are bankrupting our economy.
Daniel, great stuff. That's how it should be, and that's how it is for our program on this weekend of April the 20th. On behalf of Daniel Marins, Pete Callahan, Kimon Freeman, Cliff Schechter, Alice Locks, and the entire team here at WEAC Radio, I'm David Shuster. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you right back here next week.